Hi, I'm Andrea Bomarito, and here we're going to show how to load a DST into the T8 controller. We're going to load a DST through a USB device. Go ahead and grab my USB device. On the back of the controller, you do have 3 USB inputs. So I'll go ahead and take the USB and put it in one of the inputs. It actually doesn't matter which one you use. And here, what's really unique about the T8 is that you can read folders in the directory. So in order to bring up that USB and load the design, over here on the right hand side, R1, you can hit the I button and then press that button and you can see what that actually is. It's Select Machine Design. So I'll go ahead and press that, and then underneath I have the different options that I can choose from to load the DST. Now since I am loading it from a USB, I click on this button right here, which is Select Design from USB. So I'll go ahead and click on that, and right now you are choosing which frame you are on. The tubular frame is the typical frame that we use for shirts and anything that is a finished good. So I will leave it on tubular frame. If you are doing something like a hat or a border frame, you will want to use the arrows to arrow down to the correct frame configuration setting and use that. But for now, we'll go ahead and confirm this. And in here, you can see that we do have several folders. With the arrows on the right-hand side, I will go ahead and arrow down to the correct folder and then hit select on the left-hand side. When I hit select, you can see my designs in here as well as some other files. I'll go ahead and arrow down to my file and hit select. Once I do hit select, it is asking me which slot would you like to put it in, and this is a numerical slot. Here, if you click on this button right here, you can type in a number. Although I typically use the free design number, which opens up the next available slot or an open slot. And when I click on that, you can see that now fills it in with the number as well as the transport code file format, the Z00. This could also be different versions, and that's why you also have a button called Free Design Version. It does have a name, which that is the name of the DST file. If I would like to rename that, I can always press the new name and rename that file. But for now, we're just going to keep it as is, and we will then confirm our settings. Once we confirm, it's really important that we optimize with the user-defined values. The reason is because the DST code only reads stops and not necessarily color changes as the transport code does. So I can choose either one. I will go ahead and optimize with user-defined values. And once I click on that, you can see now it all says stop, and what this means to us is that this is my color change sequence. So it'd be very helpful if you did have a printout of your color changes so you can match it up with the appropriate needles that are on your machine. If you don't have that and you can remember the design, you can always plug it in this way, but there is a nice function here called Design Part. If we click on Design Part, you can see the section that you are on, or the starting needle right now, it says 2. So this is my first color. Once I see that this first color is there, I can then look on the machine and see what color is associated with that section. Here at the bottom, we have needles 1 through 8, and then we also have a 9 through 15 number. This helps us get to needles 9, 10, 11, and 12. So once you get there, if you do, you can always go back to 1 to 8. So here, we are going to go ahead and just start assigning needles, and I can just choose needle 1, and then it automatically goes to the next section. And let's say color 2 may be my needle number 9, so I would click on the 9 through 15 and select 9. Then it'll go to the next section. So it'll always advance, and if you do need to back up or go forward, you can click on your up and down arrow keys and reset these colors. You'll also notice as we go through the stops and as we change these needle numbers from what's default to a needle, you'll see that the name changes from stop to needle. So now we know that we're converting the stops into the colors. I'll go ahead and scroll down and we'll go to 12. We'll go back to the 1 to 8 and keep going. There's also some other tools here. One is called auto assign, and with auto assign, if I press that, you can just do numerical, where it follows from 1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth, or you can reset these assignments to stop functions again, so back to what you had before. I'll go ahead and hit previous, and then we'll just go through and I'll arbitrarily pick some numbers and go through that design. Once I'm finished to the end of the design, I'll go ahead and accept that stop table. Once I accept the stop table, I then see the optimization within this screen. You do want to make sure that the trimming is check marked with the 3 jump stitches. If this is not check marked, you could have some problems with the DST code that it won't do your trims that you had input into your design. So that's one important thing that we do have check marked. It also sees that you do have your preset stop functions that you had input, as well as the starting needle that you had input as well. So I'll go ahead and optimize with the set values, and once I have optimized, I can now choose if I want to rotate the design, size the design, so on and so forth. If you are doing caps, an easy way just to turn it upside down is this button in the middle. If I do press modification setup, it allows me to get to some more settings where you can change the percentage of the height, the width. You can opt to bulk up that satin stitch, change the angle of the design, and mirror the design. Usually I keep the maximum stitch length on. We can change that, but typically I don't go in there. So we'll go ahead, and after I've modified everything, you do want to make sure that you confirm those settings with the modify button. So we'll go ahead and press modify, and now we have seen that we've set everything, and we're back to our page, or we're to our page that shows us what needles we are going to use or what colors we're going to use, and it shows me that everything is optimized, ready to go. I'll go ahead and accept this loaded design, and once I have accepted it, it is now into the controller and it's ready to go. Once it's ready to go, there are some other functions that we need to make sure of, especially with color to needle association. But that is the basics of bringing in a DST file into the T8 controller. In loading in a DST, we did see how we had some menus to go through. There are easier ways to get through these menus without having to always confirm these settings. We actually do this through our hardware and software settings. And here I'll go ahead and choose the hardware and software settings, which is over on the left-hand side. I'll go ahead and click on that. And the next thing that we do is go ahead and click on software settings. In software settings, we have the ability to change the modification options and the optimization options. The modification options, if we click on this on the right-hand side, you can say, okay, do I want all modification options, no modification options? And this is more for, flipping the design upside down, changing the orientation of the design. So many times I actually do like to keep this on. If you're loading the same thing, over and over again, you may want to turn this off, and that will actually bypass that menu. So this one, I will leave it on. If you do want to change it, you can always click on it. And now you see here in the software settings, no modification options are on. Optimization options, here, if I click on it, all optimizations options, always use default optimization or design dependent. This is going to be what you need for DST designs. So instead of getting to the menu, confirming that you want to optimize the design, just press this and it will automatically say, okay, it'll go into that menu and set your stops to needles. The next thing is always ask for design number. This is a quick way to bypass that menu as well. If I press on that, it always will ask for a design number, whether you want to input it with typing it in or you want a free design number. Automatic design with no assignment will always open it up to the next slot, so you can also bypass that menu. So I'll just press that. And then after I've changed those, you can see that that has changed on my screen. And again, if you want to come back in here and change them again, you can always do that at any time. I will confirm these settings, and I'm going to go ahead and hit the previous button, so I'm back to the beginning. And just to show you quickly, if I go ahead and load a design again, I'll select a design, and I will go back to that DST folder, select it. Let's go down to the dragon, select. You can see now it just skipped a whole bunch of menus for me. You can see how that can really help with your production. What's really important with the DST file is the color to needle association. When we bring in a DST file, you saw that we were able to select the needles of the color changes. Now, what's unique about the T8 controller is that we can actually set colors and needles together. But what's important for the DST file is that we do want these colors and needles to actually match, typically because we do set it to needles and not necessarily colors. So here, I'm going to choose the needle assign on the right-hand side, click on that, and you see up here, these are the needles that I plugged in. They do have colors, but typically with DST files, they have interesting colors. They don't match our design like the transport code does. So when we do set the colors, or set the needles, we typically set it that needle 1 is the first color that we want, so on and so forth. You can see that with this design, I also did not include certain needles, so they are grayed out. So I don't have 3, 4, and 11. With DST files, typically we want the color to associate with the same number for the needle. So up here is the color, and down here is the needle. Since I input 1 for one of my colors, or for one of the needle stops, I want to make sure that this matches up with 1, because that's the needle that I need. An easy way to do this is to go ahead and press the button next to defaults. If I press this, my numbers on the top now match with the numbers on the bottom. So anytime I have plugged in needle 1, it'll actually associate it with needle 1. If I had it like before, where it was 1 and then 4, anytime I plugged in needle 1, it would actually go to needle 4. This is kind of nice if you do want to change black to white or white to black. And here, let's say, instead of needle number 1, maybe that's white, I want it to be black, which may be needle 3. So I would type in the needle here, it's already highlighted, type in 3, and anytime that you want to advance, you just hit the tab button. It will advance to the next one. But again, typically with DST files, when you input them with the correct needle assignment or the correct needle order. So defaults is typically what I have when doing that. Once I am finished, I will hit the confirm button. Once I've confirmed, you can now see at the top, at the side here, 1 is associated with 1, 2 is associated with 2. Now be mindful, this does not necessarily mean the color order. This is telling you what colors are associated with which needles. Thank you, and hope to see you in our next videos.